Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Tonight I'm going to talk about I Can Hear Music. First of all, I want to ask you a question. What in common do these three band names have? Kevin and the Cadets, Carl and the Passions, and the Pendletons. Does anybody have a clue what those three bands have in common? The interesting thing is, those are all three names that were the same band. They just hadn't decided what their name should be yet. But none of those three names ended up being the name they became known for. When Dennis went to talk to Brian, who were brothers, and says, we need to do a song about surfing, because he was a Beach Boy. They became the Beach Boys. So their first song they recorded was Surfing. So they had, in that group, there was 5 of them, 3 brothers, a cousin, and a best friend. That had for years been singing together on and off at Christmas parties and in different things, and family events, because Brian loved music. And in fact, at 12 years old, he was teaching Carl, the youngest one, how to orchestrate the music and write songs that he'd already been developing at 12 years old. So, in 1961, when their parents decided to leave town for the weekend to do something, they left them $500 to get them over the next week. They decided to take that $500, go to a local recording studio, and record the song Surfing. They recorded that song, and the song moved from very high in the chart, very low on the charts, to become number 75 on the charts. And then they thought, well, this will be great. We got a good song, it's number 75 on the charts. Then that company that did the record went belly up, went bankrupt. So I was like, oh, well. So Dad got back from vacation, was a little bit mad that they'd used that money for that, but hey, they got a hit out of it. And so he decided, let's work this out, and went around and made some contract negotiations, signed with Capitol Records. Capitol Records, and this is very unusual, the fact that when they signed with Capitol Records, they got rights that not even the Beatles got when they first set them up, because their dad, being a songwriter, knew the business, helped them get in there, and helped keep them have control over their music. So that really helped them in the development of things. So I'm going to kind of, when I talk about the Beach Boys, I'm going to kind of give you a brief history, just kind of a Reader's Digest of where they were, how they transitioned to become not just a band, but something beyond a band, to where they are today. So those will be the 3 areas I'm going to be hitting tonight. The first area, 1961, is when they started. They got this first song, boom, got out there, and almost immediately right away they had the next 2 songs was from Surfing, it went to Surfing Safari, to, forgot the song in there, Surfing Safari, and, Surfing USA, how could I forget that one? Well, that was actually, that's 409 came next, so they started doing these combinations of car surfing on the thing, so they got putting them out. So Surfing Safari got to be a big hit. 409 became a big hit. I mean, within the top 100, each one of these became the top 100. They went from those songs to Darlin' and Wouldn't It Be Nice, to other great songs along there that were flip sides. They had Surfer Girl, Little Deuce Coupe, Be True to Your School, In My Room. So they had songs that really connected with the people. They were songs that related to the fad at the time, Beach Boys. The beach was very popular. They kind of caught on with that fad. Drag racing, cars, high school, girls, everything was exciting. They were able to write these songs because of his experience, Brian's experience with knowing how to arrange music and harmonize. All those years around the house, singing together, harmonizing, paid off in their music. When they start producing music, one of the things the Beach Boys have always been known for is their harmony. So they were able to take that harmony, along with Brian's skills to write music. He also helped Carl learned how to write music, Mike Love learned how to write music, Al Jardine learned how to write music. Pretty soon they're all writing music, all different kinds of songs. So stage 2 in their development was going from just a rock band, because like I said, they had all these hits from 61 to 64, they were just record after record. Gold records, lots of things coming in. Their first big concert, they actually played at the Richie Valens Memorial Concert. He passed away the year before in a car accident, or air accident, and they were invited to play at that concert. They made $300 at that concert. But that was their first big concert. And then they started going around the world and were traveling. First time around the United States in '64, they got to Sacramento and decided to record a live concert. And when they took that live concert, they put it on record. And it was the first time a live album record had actually gone from, you know, way off the charts to being way up in the top 10 on the charts. Live album. So that was experimental at that time, and they were able to pull that off. So that was kind of the beginning of the transition. Stage 2 of their transition is going from just musicians, rock band people, to advanced musicians. Brian had become known at that point as a very good producer of music, being able to put together albums, things like that. And they came up to 1967 when he produced a record album called Pet Sounds, which is this one here. When it first came out, Pet Sounds did not sell like all the other ones. He put a lot of work into it. He actually wasn't even traveling with the band at the time. He was working in the studios, it was already, had orchestras, synthesizers, everything he put into this thing. The interesting part is it did not sell as well as the other ones, but to this day, this is now considered one of the best albums in Beach Boy history. It's just they got one of these songs called God Only Knows. Paul McCartney said that song was the best love song that's ever been written. They got songs like Suit John B. and different ones that are on here. I'm going to pass this around and kind of take a look at the album there. That now has become a symbol of the Beach Boys album. So that's where they started trying different things. He started experimenting, not just certain sounds, he expanded beyond just rock and roll music. And that's why it didn't sell as well, is because it wasn't the typical rock and roll. He was expanding into new areas. And in fact, the Beatles credit that album for being the one that inspired them to do Sgt. Pepper's Band. That album that sold millions of copies for the Beatles was inspired by that album. So the Beach Boys inspired many other groups to do those things. So their new contemporary style, their way of doing things, helped other people and other musicians to be inspired to go along and to work on stretching themselves in that process. So they became a leading edge in that area. So where did that take them to? Through the 80s, they started becoming known as a band that was kind of old. So they started coming out, they came out with new songs again. And they started taking old songs and putting them into music, like Lethal Weapon 2, and Good Morning Vietnam, and a song called Cocktail, which became a song came out called Kokomo, which became #1. Their biggest hit of all time came out 25 years after Good Vibrations came out. And that's a record for distance between, because most groups don't last that long, you know, between #1s. So that's where they ended up being on that. The one thing I'm just going to pass one more thing around here, just to kind of show you real quick, the different styles of albums, the different kinds of things that they put out. So many different things out there, #1 albums, gold records, things like that. So in conclusion, I want to wrap up by saying, I can hear music because the music of the Beach Boys encourages me to think about fun, good times, helps people imagine something beyond their art. Wouldn't it be nice? That's the thought they want to encourage. So when you listen to Beach Boy music, it takes you from wherever you're at and transports you to a funner place. And so music can really help you be transitioned from where you are to new places and help you enjoy life and to go to have fun. Thank you very much.